And stuff. All right, welcome back to The Horror with Mike
and Nate.
On this episode, we are going to be going into our first ever video review of MTV Scream.
I didn't set the sound to record.
Oh.
Nice call, dude.
Yeah, right?
That could have been like...
Like I said, there's no cure for what I got. Yeah.
Okay, now we're good.
All right, cool. Because I wanted to kind of do that again anyway. All right, welcome back to The Horror with Mike.
And Nate.
On this episode, we're going to be going into MTV Scream, episode 6 of 10.
Yep, coming off of, to me, and I believe to you, easily far and away the worst episode of this show yet, which has yet to have a great episode, but they finally had a truly terrible episode last week.
It was bad. So expectations were quite low.
Yeah, I had to make myself watch it, but I will say, after I started watching it, I didn't have to make myself continue.
Oh, no.
It was a big step up from last week.
Oh, yeah.
Still didn't hit it out of the park. Wasn't a great episode, but vast improvement.
Yeah, it's difficult because I really liked the Scooby-Doo aspect of episode 4, but this is as good, if not better, than episode 4, I thought.
Yeah, I'd say that.
Yeah.
It held my attention the entire time. So.
Yeah, I liked the Scooby-Doo aspect. It was also, I liked the writing was a lot better than it has been on this episode, and I looked, and it was written by Jamie Paglia, who's a dude, and he's actually one of these show runners.
Oh,
so
okay.
That's
why it felt a little more focused.
Exactly. And this is what I loved about the episode was it was like he came in and was like, all right, these are all the problems that the show has had. These are all of the questions we have thus far. So he knew what to integrate because of what will end up being important and what was. So this episode was nothing but reiterating clues and really just honing in on everything and really giving us a plot-centric, breaking all the pieces apart.
So far, to me, this season, the only really interesting subplot has been the Brandon James stuff.
Yeah.
And this episode got a lot deeper into that.
A little bit. But it was cool that it happened at the end. At the end, we actually get our first flashback to, I call it Snape and Lily.
Yeah.
Like that. The mom and Brandon James were friends. They were friends when they were little kids. I think it was about 6. She goes on saying how she didn't think he was guilty and that he came to the dance that night to stop her. It's drama.
Yeah.
It really wasn't bad. Again, drama doesn't have to be bad as long as it's handled correctly.
Well, to me, the most interesting part of it was the fact that they firmly established that Brandon James wasn't the killer back then.
Right.
It was somebody else, and in true Scream fashion, they set somebody up to take the fall for it.
Mm-hmm.
So whoever the killer is now, and we're going to get into this, we're going to do we're going to revisit our killer theories.
Yeah.
If you haven't watched the Scream Killer Theories podcast yet, watch it, and then after that, you'll be able to check out Killer Theories 2, which is coming up next.
Yeah, because we got a lot to talk about on that one. Episode specific, though. Just a few bits of trivia. The Joe Roberts thing that I brought up was bullshit.
Yeah.
Obviously, she hadn't shown up anywhere, so I don't know where the fuck that came from, but I'm sorry because I was misinformed just as much as I misinformed you. This episode was directed by Julius Ramsey, who I thought also did a very good job.
Yeah, it seemed a lot more professional than we'd seen so far.
Yes. Flashbacks had some style to them. And one thing cool, Lorraine Brock, which if we don't know her by name, which I could believe, is the detective. She looked familiar. She's the chick from the Chappelle Show skit, Real Sex, who's like, my sorority sisters were cheering me on when I got gang.
Oh, okay.
Like, we're done, gangbang. Yeah, that's
Chappelle
her.
Show alum. All right, she did look vaguely familiar.
Yeah, that's her. Okay, so we start with the obvious dream sequence. Which the only reason it didn't fully piss me off, and I'm still really pissed me off, but it didn't fully, is because I knew it was coming.
You knew it was coming, and it did piss me off because I watched the beginning of the episode, and I was thinking, damn it, this is familiar. Why is this so familiar? Did I already... Oh, no, because Mike laid out this exact sequence.
Sequence.
Like...
This is how you know I'm right about everything. I can call this shit
beat by beat. I don't like giving him extra credit.
Neither do I. I don't like being right because I think of this shit on the spot.
So I can't even tell you if it was a good beginning because it just pissed me off that that was the beginning.
It's cheap.
Yeah.
And fuck you guys for doing that. What also pisses me off about it is that you had an episode that jumped right into the action. You had a surprise death, all this kind of stuff. You had a very interesting beginning of an episode, but it was basically like you're like, but we can't actually have a good beginning.
Psych.
So let's make it a
Psych.
dream sequence. He's like, what do you mean? Like cheat?
Yeah.
I'd rather not call it cheating, but it's cheating. Oh yeah. Okay, fuck it, let's do it. Bullshit. Why don't you have cool stuff like this in the show? Why is everyone concerned with not doing ballsy shit? Plus the fact that Emma does not mention that dream to anybody, which is fine. 2, she just like wakes up, oh, I explored Brandon James' house. I don't actually have to go there in real life.
Yeah.
And it was a cool sequence too.
And it was the closest thing that we've gotten to a kill in over 2 episodes. And
That's the other thing. Is
psych.
this episode didn't have a kill either.
Nope.
Again, like episode 4, it didn't bother me.
It had a dream kill and a couple of almost kills, but no. Yeah.
Anyway, she wakes up in the morning and the sheriff and her mom were evidently spending the night together. And Emma wants to slightly chastise her for hooking up with her boyfriend for months. And she hooked up
for sleeping in a bed in a house
Yeah.
with a grown-up instead of sleeping on the
You've
ground
been, like dating
in a
for
field
while.
with a 16-year-old rapist/killer, possibly.
Probably. Not really, because I don't really give a shit. But come on now. You're not subverting expectation. You just want sexually active people.
Maybe they just think that none of their viewers would believe that
That's very true.
that someone is going to be a virgin, like at the ripe
Unless
old
it's
age of.
Noah. So the next scene we get, oh, this was amazing. Piper and Will start having scenes together. Boy, let me tell you, that is some fun shit right there. They're trying to make Will into a good guy now.
Good or bad, they have yet to make him interesting.
No, exactly.
So,
they don't know what to do with either one of these characters.
Whether
so
his
they stuck them
alignment is
together.
chaotic neutral or lawful good, he's still boring as hell.
Yeah, who gives a shit?
Yeah.
Audrey and Noah talk about Mr. Branson and totally make him out to be the killer.
Yes.
Right.
Therefore, eliminating him from the list of suspects as being the killer.
Right. But we'll get to that on Killer Theories. Make
Yes.
sure you watch that. So anyway, they talk about Mr. Branson. Branson is Manson? You know, even saying it out loud, I don't like that line. Branson changed his name. Ooh, again. But this scene, these two talking to each other, made me realize a vital problem with this show. We're following around unlikable characters.
Yes.
And I would watch a show of just those two because basic storytelling tells you that with characters, you want people who aren't perfect in their lives. Nobody wants to watch perfect people be perfect.
Yeah, and the drama they do have is bullshit TV drama. Like,
Yeah.
my father, the mayor, killed my mother and hit her body. That's not drama.
And Brooke has 2 of the worst lines I've heard in this show thus far, which is not easy to do.
No, it's that's a tall statement.
Yeah. How can I focus on the goodbye girl when my dad is doing Gone Girl?
Yeah.
And she says that shit with a straight face.
Yeah, that's like True Detective Season 2 bad.
Yeah. Kieran just acts shady. Did you and your mother have some weird sex pact? And I don't even care if that's something, because if it ends up being Kieran, like I said, and the sheriff, I'm going to just be so pissed off that none of this will matter, so who cares? Then we go to Brock and Maggie. We know who the killer is. Bum, bum, bum. Brock tells Audrey that they found DNA of hers inside the Scream mask. So she is made out to be, for most of the episode, a very likely suspect. What I like about the writing, again, is it's forgiven for episode 5 reintroducing her, because 5 halfway through needs to reignite the plot.
Mm-hmm.
And that was Brock, and it did not matter last episode, but this episode with the right writer, he was using it for what it should be, which is answering all the questions that the audience has and new eyes into the situation and helping us discover what was important at the beginning and what's going to be important going on. So all her scenes are really interesting, and I like Brock as a character, and I think she's got good line delivery, which is not something I would normally say about an actor. But when most of the actors on the show do not even have good line delivery,
Right,
I'll
she
take what I
stands
can
out.
get. They bring in Audrey, and we meet her dad for the first time.
Yeah. Sort of a forgettable chap.
Yeah, villains have to eat too. And he's like, Bane eats, I assume. Well, I mean, with the mask, is that maybe there's a nutrient injection he takes or something?
Continuing this show's pattern of leaning heavily on pop culture references with
And this
no
episode-
horror references.
Yeah, this episode relied heavily. I almost started counting. This episode had nothing but pop
Shouldn't there
culture
be
references.
just by law of averages, wouldn't Noah have a random horror reference from time to time?
No, nobody ever talks about horror. Horror doesn't exist in this world. It's a horror movie. Fuck you guys for that. There's one interesting thing that gets revealed in Audrey and Brock talking to each other. The night Nina was murdered is revealed through dialogue hidden to be September 30th. If you look at Nina's phone, she gets killed at exactly 11 p.m. on September 30th. What's 30 days away?
Halloween.
Halloween, motherfuckers. The Brandon James stuff happened over Halloween. We're leading up to the last episode taking place on Halloween. Where, or maybe wait for season 2 for that. Don't do that either.
Good. That's a no-brainer, like real easy way to add horror atmosphere to anything.
And watch them not do it. They'll all be dressed up as like characters from TV shows and shit.
We're the Pretty Little Liars.
Yep.
Yeah.
More Brooke and Will. Yeah, her dad fucking killed the mom. Just come out and say that and let's move on with this.
Emma and Noah are dispatched over to Audrey's house to find a SIM card, something like that.
SD card, yep.
An SD card from the night of Nina's murder, where she vengefully rants and raves about how she's going to make Nina pay. And it's exactly the sort of thing that a teenager would think is evidence. What is actually, it's not really evidence.
Well, it didn't help her case by any means.
It didn't.
And that could be used as evidence. So, I mean, it definitely makes sense. What sticks out to me about that, and we'll get more into this on Killer Theories, is that if her plan was to go over to Nina's house that night and kill her or do whatever, and her friend stopped her, and then she finds out Nina got killed that night, like, wouldn't she be fucking freaked out? Be like, oh my God, I was almost at her house when she got killed.
Yeah.
I would be freaked out by that. Don't you think? And I would have at least told Rachel, like, thank you for stopping me from going to a place where people were getting killed. Unless that factors into something else. So they watch the video, blah, blah, blah. Brooke's other horrible line, Jake is like, it's like Stephen King says, murder is like potato chips. You can't just stop at one. And she, again, straight face. She says, I hope my dad never opened that bag of chips.
Yeah. God. I'm actually surprised they didn't use that as a way to have a product placement for the new flavor of Lay's. You know?
Why wasn't he sitting there eating
a little pop-up on the bottom of the screen, like Scream always likes to do, now playing.
With their music.
Yeah. Or trending now. Did Noah do it? Hashtag at Twitter.
Audrey's mom has cancer. And Brock actually has one of the few, like, good lines in this series that I was like, nice, like, do shit like that. Make that the central theme and shit. Emma's like, no, I don't think Audrey could do this. She's my friend. And Brock's like, you never know. Every killer is someone's friend and someone's family. If she gets let go, if I let her go and she kills again, you're just as responsible.
Mm-hmm.
Which is pretty mean to say to somebody.
Yeah.
But that was, I thought, a really good idea, is finally stating some kind of theme that it's like, oh, that is a scary thought. Like, work with that. Exactly another reason why it shouldn't be just somebody random. It needs to be a family or a friend or something like that, because no one cares if it's Ben Willis who has no connection to anything.
Yeah.
More Jake and Will bullshit. Emma and Brock again, and Emma straight up fucking lies her ass off to get Audrey off the hook.
Yes.
And then the episode ended actually on a really high note. It's a really cool location. We go back to that abandoned place, so the production design is really creepy and cool, and it's all good. Will's in it and Piper, so it's like, what are you going to do? And the mayor, who we don't care about either.
Will is calling the mayor there to give him his money back and their blackmail evidence, but really it is a setup so Gail Weathers can record the whole thing for her big story.
Yeah, that's not the interesting thing, though.
No, and then the mayor splits, and then new Ghostface shows up and stalks them.
That was cool. They go to run out, doors locked, they go back through that room, and ooh, they're walking, and he just, like, appears.
Yeah, he comes up behind
this bathroom stall, and that shit looked freaky.
Yeah.
What's lame about it is that we didn't actually get a kill. Like, Will obviously survives.
We got two woundings.
Yeah, and she just bangs her head.
Conveniently getting knocked out, which I don't think there's anything to read into there.
No, that's just bad writing.
Yeah, she just, we didn't want her to die, but we needed her incapacitated, so she fell down and bumped her head.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Useless. Still continuing to be useless.
Yes, and so somebody online was even like, oh, and Will's dead, left to bleed out somewhere. It's like, as we know, until you destroy the brain, and no one ever dies off screen.
No.
So Will come back. Will is not
Not
dead.
on a show with so few deaths. A slasher show based around people getting killed, has so few people being killed. You can't do one off screen.
Okay, so that pretty much wraps us up with episode 5's review. I did like it better because probably a lot to do with the fact that it was a big step up from the terrible last episode. That if I wasn't a big fan of Scream and I wasn't curious who the killer was, I would have stopped.
Yeah.
On episode 5.
Now, I won't say that this episode had like a great, compelling plot.
At least it had a plot.
Exactly. Something happened this episode. And the previous episode, it was just teen drama. And I know this is an MTV show. You're guaranteed X amount of teen drama. That's fine. I accept that.
Right.
This episode did it well. They sprinkled it in through an actual story. So, greatest story ever? No. But hey, at least they're telling a story this time.
Yeah, right? But please, come on. Start giving us kills. Your victim pool is way too big to not be killing motherfuckers.
Yeah. What are you pacing yourself for? I'm hoping that we'll get one episode with multiple deaths in it. That would be surprising to me.
Well, it looks like the next episode actually might be the bowling alley.
Yeah, that's what the preview made it look like.
Yeah, looks like that could be. And so we might potentially get both Jake and Brooke dying, would be my indication. Thing is, this will happen, so don't get too excited. Someone who you think is dead will end up being one of the killers. So I don't know if that'll happen in later episodes. I don't know if it's already happened.
Yeah.
But that will happen, so don't get too excited when a character dies.
It better not be Tyler, who's...
I don't think it was, because in this episode, she says...
We don't even know what he looks like, so he can't come back and it'd be a surprise, because we don't know who he is. He's just a guy that's dead.
Right, and it would be a total cheat at this point, because Brock specifically says, you found a decomposing severed head. So they have found the head and confirmed that it was Tyler. It would be a fucking cheat if it wasn't at this point, so Tyler's out of it. Nina still could be, because like I said, they could have killed her parents or something. We'll get into that in Killer Theories.
Killer Theories 2, actually.
2. And so what we have, basically this episode, I would give it, what did I give the last one? This is like a
You gave
6.
the last one a 3, and I gave the last one a 2.
This is like a 6. It's better than average.
Yes. In comparison to the rest of the show, definitely a 6. Overall, I'd probably give it a 5.
Yeah, on the scale.
But on the sliding scale of MTV Scream, 6 out of 10. This is one of their better episodes.
All right. Well, anyway, remember to check back to us and watch our reviews of all the other episodes. Watch our Killer Theories Part 2. And watch our reviews of True Detective Season 2.
Follow us on Twitter. Follow us on Facebook. We are available at Fright Flicks. All right, this has been the weekly Scream dissection on the horror. I'm Nate.
I'm Mike. See you later, guys.